welcome to Perth Watch, your horology channel broadcasting from right here in Perth, Western Australia. Today I have the pleasure to feature my second piece on the channel from Mr. Jones Watches. Now the first watch was actually something that a friend lent to me, and that was the Fantastic Exploits, which I reviewed, I think it was sometime last year. Anyway, that was a very interesting watch to me, and I had the privilege of having Mr. Jones, the company itself, reach out to me. Now they've been around for quite a long time. I think somewhere around 8 years, or perhaps even more than that, when I first saw one of their watches on the wrist of a colleague. So it really feels great that they have reached out after they saw that initial review to collaborate. So today's watch is courtesy of the company, and I've already talked a little bit of their MO in the first video which I did, but just to summarize, they have an MO of creating watches that are different, with the intention to make you think, start conversation, or just simply make you smile when you read the time. So guys, today's watch comes in their typical long box that seems to be the box that their watches do ship in. So without further ado, let's just flip it around and take a closer look at what's in here. Alright guys, so here we have the packaging on the table here. It does come in the long box that Mr. Jones Watches has come in, and it's got the same good horologist tattoo art. Pretty cool, I really quite enjoy looking at this. Look at that, balanced thoughts, indispensable pivots, the mechanicon of movement for effectual navigators, midnight explorers, pavement drifters, and heroic do-nothings, I suppose, solely for exclusive. So pretty cool stuff. This is, I think, commissioned by a tattoo artist or some sort of mural artist in London, if I remember correctly. And then you can see you got that reflection there, the case back, which shows you what watch is in here. Okay, so you've already seen that before, perhaps from the other video, but I thought I'd kind of share that again. So MJW on this MDF type case, very simple, nothing too much to speak of. Spinability that's probably just a 2 out of 5, actually, not very spinnable, because that's just doesn't rub very well. All right, so in here, simple black on the MDF here, and then I'll just quickly just go through this. You can see all this on the website. There's a little bit about the artist, and then about the watch itself. So if you want to read this, you can pause it, or better yet, probably go to the website, and then in the back a little bit about caring and understanding the watch and water resistant type of rating, as well as what you expect of the battery of the watch. Okay, so without further ado, let's just get this out and put that away so that I can show you guys this fascinating little piece in closer details. So guys, this is, as you've seen on the case back, Mr. Jones Watches A Perfectly Useless Afternoon. And if you read the design, I guess intent, this came from I think a Chinese or Japanese advice that if you can spend an afternoon, a perfectly useless afternoon, doing perfectly nothing, then you've kind of learned how to live. So it is the intention of this watch to help you relax when you look at it, because it is actually a person floating, lazily reading a book on a swimming pool. That's really very obviously where this is going for, and you can see the three-dimensionality of the dial here. So the MSRP of this watch listed on the website is £175. I guess sometimes you may have opportunities to get this on sale, but that's the typical list price that this is going for. And they tell me this is their most successful or most popular model, so it must be going like hotcakes, and they've kind of done more versions than just this one. They had limited editions before, and this is a very slightly different color palette from some of the other earlier models. Movement in here, I haven't actually been able to confirm yet, but they have used Swiss Ronda 515s before, and I I think it's very likely this is the same movement. It is a single jewel quartz, is what they've said, and that's what the 515 is. And I'm just going to put the stats down the left of screen here. And if I find out otherwise, I will put an addendum here to tell you what is actually inside. Okay, case-wise, all right, so this is a 37.5 millimeter diameter case, right, measured by calipers. Thickness is 11 millimeters, right? They could make it any, I guess, level of thickness, variably from that, because it is a quartz movement, but because of the multi-layer, I think 11 millimeters is fair. 18 millimeters is the lug width here. Okay, so lug width 18 millimeters, and the lug-to-lug distance between my thumbs of 46.5 millimeters. Overall weight on this Milanese strap, right, this Milanese bracelet is 64 grams. If you swap it to silicone rubber, it weighs 52 grams, and I'll show you the silicone rubber I have later on in the video. Finishing wise, fully polished. Okay, I'm just going to pan it around and let you see that it is 100% fully polished, and you can see me on the camera there on that case back, and you can see that case back is a solid case back, saying the watch, as well as the fact that it's designed in Belgium by that Belgian designer. And then I'll just show you here that it's multi-layered on the case here, which is nice, right? The lugs continue on to this sign bit, MJW sign, and just to point out, the crown itself on the other end is actually not signed, so it's as if it's been transferred to the other end, which is kind of all right. I don't mind that. So it's a friction case back with a push crown. The water rating for this watch is 50 meters. All right, so moving on to the dial now, which is really, I guess, where a lot of the work and idea is. It is actually a printed swimming pool dial. You can see the distortion effect if they've gone for the blue of the floor of the swimming pool. It's got double transparent discs for the hour and minute hands. Of course, you might have guessed the rubber ducky on the side there is pointing to the minutes, and then the foot of the figure there, the character, is pointing to the hours. And as you can see, as I pan it, there is very much a three-dimensional look to this. And then the chattering on the periphery there is, I guess, a different layer to the bottom of the pool, and that kind of represents the tiles of the side, and actually doubles as the index positions of the hours, right? No chattering, no minutes position. You don't need that for this watch, or at least that's not the intention of this watch. It's just hour indices that you're having here. There is no loom here because, a watch with this idea, you're not going to loom it. So let's just show how this functions for you guys, okay? Right, in case you're wondering, that's really how it is. All right, just going to put it round and round to 10 past 10 to get the iconic or the classic position, right, for watch displays. All right, so moving on to the glass, right, on top of that is a domed sapphire. Right, that's really what they've gone for. It's a domed sapphire crystal on top of that. Strap-wise, this one comes with fairly basic. It does have a quick release, bar there. Fairly basic, hook and friction release Milanese strap with, you can adjust it in those number of positions that you can see there. All right, it's pretty much a Chinese OEM, I would guess. So you've seen this before, nothing too special. You can actually swap it out for any number of fun versions. I've asked for the yellow because this kind of helps me think of fun summer relaxation, and that's what they've kind of included as well. But you can swap it for leather and other options. Check it out on the website if you want to find out more. All right, so that's the description of the watch. Going to put it on the wrist for a wrist shot for you guys now. And there we have it, the Mr. Jones, a perfectly useless afternoon on my 17 centimeter wrist. This is touted to be a unisex watch. I've put this on my wife's wrist and it fits fine, 37 mils. I think most ladies can also wear this. It's not just for guys. You don't have to have a big wrist by any means, and certainly even if you have a small wrist, you should be able to carry this. And mine's 17 centimeters. Absolutely fine. 11 millimeters on thickness, and remember 46.5 millimeters lug to lug height there. Okay, then that's how it looks. All right, guys, so that's the description and wrist shot. I'm just going to take this off camera around to kind of put on the other strap, because that one doesn't have quick release. So, quick release, very easy to take off, but with normal spring bars, you can't just snap it on. And there we go, guys, the watch on the yellow silicone rubber, which, this has been quite fun to wear because it does help you catch more attention. And I enjoy the conversations that this watch starts, because once people look at this dial, they, generally speaking, will be interested to find out what in the world you have there on your wrist. Okay, so silicone rubber, fairly basic. Again, probably Chinese OEM, but nothing wrong with that. This is actually perfectly comfortable and certainly quite attractive, in the time that I've had this watch. Okay, so what do I enjoy about this? Well, look, I think it is a very cool idea, both metaphorically and literally, and a very cool optical effect that has been achieved here. I really enjoy that. And I think it actually very capably achieves at least part of the company MO. It certainly makes me smile when I first looked at this, and most of the times when I look down at my wrist, it makes me smile, and it certainly helps start conversations. And I've had some very interesting conversations about the idea and the company behind this watch. I think they have a fun choice of straps, right? They have some leather, they have some fun range of colors to go with this watch, and it doesn't cost you anything to request a swap. So, good on them for making that available. And, the other thing I would say is that they've chosen not to implement a seconds display, which in this watch, I think is perfectly reasonable. It absolutely fits the idea behind this watch. Basic time display, no seconds, no date. It helps you, simplify life, and certainly does help you relax. It has indeed helped me, feel a bit more relaxed when I've had this watch, even during work hours. The things that I say are slight weaknesses, or I guess maybe things to be aware of. It's not the most practical watch, right? This is not a watch that is for practicality. It's got no date, it's got no lume, it's got no seconds display. It's actually not easy to read in low light. So, this is not the watch to get if you need those features. It is a quartz, so some people don't like quartz. Overall, I think for this watch, fair enough. It would be nice if they have automatic versions, and they do have many other automatic watches. So in the future, perhaps a version with an automatic movement. It is a fairly basic idea to do. I think, these kind of printed discs aren't so difficult to do. The finishing is all polished, so it's relatively simple. It's an OEM strap that they've put in here, nothing too complicated. But, as with all pieces of modern art, it is not about the implementation so much as the idea, and the idea is what you're going for in this watch. This is a swimming pool watch, of course, right? You can see it is very much a swimming pool theme. Would have been cool if it was a watch that you can actually use for swimming, as it is 5 atmospheres of water resistant with, push crown and friction caseback. I would not recommend that you take this into a pool, and I suspect Mr. Jones wouldn't recommend that either. Okay, so guys, there we go. My thoughts on this, very nicely implemented piece, very cool and enjoyable piece. Let's flip the camera around now for the wrap up. So there you go, guys, my review of the Mr. Jones A Perfectly Useless Afternoon. A watch that has been, in my experience, very interesting. Just having it on the wrist, talking to friends and colleagues about it. Let me know your thoughts about this piece, especially if you happen to own it, because they tell me that's their biggest seller. So I expect that some of the viewers will perhaps own one. Or if you own any other Mr. Jones watches, let me know your experiences and why you chose the particular piece that you have. Guys, if you enjoy my videos, do consider subscribing. New content every week, always aiming to be objective and unbiased about all things horology. Thank you again for sticking with me, and as always, I'll catch you guys again next time.